Oh man, this is a loaded question. There are so many insecurities that I have. And I got lip injections done maybe 4 times. My biggest beauty disaster. Oh my God, there's been so many. And then when the channel really started to explode, it started to make more sense for me to do YouTube and not do hair. I never make videos like this where I'm just sitting down and talking, where I don't have everything planned, where it's not a video that has a purpose to solve a problem or fix something or teach you something new. This year alone, I went from less than 20,000 subscribers to like almost 130,000 subscribers, and it's been quite a wild ride. So I asked you in the community tab if you wanted to know a little bit more about me, the person behind the camera, and I was pretty surprised to know that you did. So I'm gonna get ready in front of the camera and we're just gonna have a chit chat like friends do. I'm gonna answer all of the questions that you left me in my community tab. As always, let's go. All right, so the first question is, I would love to know if you film and edit your own content or if you have help. I film all of my own content, and up until literally a month ago, I did all my own editing. And then I ended up going to Vid Summit, which is a creator conference. It was hosted in LA, and I quickly started to realize that everyone that has pretty much over 100,000 subscribers, they have teams, because this is an enormous job. And I also run a bridal beauty business where I do hair and makeup for brides, and we service anywhere from like 60 to 80 weddings a year. So I was finding that doing all of this completely by myself became like pretty unsustainable. So since then, I recently hired an editing team. So I do all of my filming by myself. There's no one here at the studio to help me. I'll actually show you exactly what this setup is. Are you ready? So this is my salon that I used to do hair in before I became a YouTuber. And then right in front of me, I have my monitor, and that's where I can see what I'm doing, so I know if I'm out of frame. I have a softbox. There's my camera right behind my ring light, another softbox, and then I have a hair light. So the hilarious thing is that I normally sit here totally done up, but I'm wearing pajama pants and car socks. That's how it is. It's so like crazy when you peel back the curtains, right? Okay, the next question, do you still work as a hairstylist or do you only do content creation? There's a whole story about this. I had a client who was one of my brides, and she was actually a full-time YouTuber, and she's the one who introduced me to this whole entire world. She asked me if I wanted to partner with her to make some beauty content. And at the time, like, I didn't own a camera. I didn't know how to work a camera. I didn't know how YouTube works. In fact, I didn't even watch YouTube. Like, I'm gonna be completely honest. YouTube wasn't even my thing. And then once I started making content, that client and I decided to go our separate ways. But I got pretty invested and kind of addicted to the world of YouTube, because once you get into it, that community building and sharing the knowledge and your expertise is really, it's an amazing thing. It's an amazing career. So I still did hair full time, and I did YouTube on the side. When I started getting some AdSense revenue, I cut one day out from my salon hours. And then when I got more AdSense revenue and things started to build and build and build, I started cutting out 2 days. And I had that for a long time. And then when the channel really started to explode, it started to make more sense for me to do YouTube and not do hair, because the revenue that I was able to get through YouTube and through social media was greater than the revenue that I was getting through hair. And it was also a lot less stress. I have 2 little kids. They are 8 and 5 now, but when I started YouTube, they were 1 and 4. Having 2 little kids and having to manage them being home from school when they're sick, which is all the time when you have little kids. And if you have little kids, then you would know. And even having to manage their like extracurricular activities and picking them up from school and having to take clients was very challenging, because clients want to come when they are free, which is after work and on the weekends. But my kids are home after work and on the weekends. So then I was always juggling this crazy schedule, and it was becoming a lot. It was becoming like pretty unhealthy, actually. I was working till like 9 o'clock at night every night. So YouTube kind of gave me this outlet to have a more like sustainable lifestyle where I can work during the day when they're at home, when they're at school, and I can be with them when they're at home. And when they're sick, I can just like shoot in the evenings or figure something else out or not post as much content, and it's fine. Whereas when you have clients that are regular clients that need to get their roots done every single month and they're upset with you and you're fully booked for months in advance. I was fully booked for months in advance. If I had to cancel because my son had a fever, that meant that I was working on Sunday because I couldn't fit them in any other time. They needed to get their roots done. And because I was like a one-man show, it was all on me, and that became like exhausting. In terms of the question, do you still work as a hairstylist? No, I do hair and makeup for weddings, but I don't do cuts and colors at all anymore. Okay, so Kate's here says, I'd like to know how old your children are and how you manage your work-life balance. This is the parenting question of our generation, isn't it? Not that I want to go back to when women stayed home, because I don't like the gender inequality in that, and I'm actually I'm a huge feminist, but I feel like there were more roles that allowed things to be more possible, and now it's just not that way. As a woman, you also have to be someone that's career-minded, you have to be someone that's financially stable and independent, and if you're not, there is stigma associated with that. There really is a tremendous pressure in society today to be like everything. You have to be an amazing mother that makes Pinterest lunches, and you also have to be extremely successful and thriving in your career, and you have to be an excellent wife, and you have to work out because God forbid you don't look amazing, and you have to be put together and do your hair and your makeup. And there's so many pressures now. There are so many pressures now. I'm gonna be honest, like, do I do it well? Not really. Like, my kids are 100% my priority, and I work really, really, really hard. How do I find balance? I don't think I've done a very good job of it because there is so much and it is so hard. So I think sometimes when people seem like they have it all together, like, you just don't know the full story. I've sacrificed a lot of things. Like, I really have like zero free time. I very rarely do anything for myself that isn't working or work related aside from spending time with my kids. I give my kids my time, and then every other second that I don't have them, I'm working. And that's just how it is for me. It was like that for me when I was a stylist as well. I think the thing that keeps me going though is that I truly have like an enormous amount of love for what I do. I love the community that I've built here, and I love the beauty industry. I love hair and makeup. I have since I was like a young child. I've always been fascinated by it. And I think that there is so much pressure in the world and so much pressure as a woman to be all of these different things, and so much pressure to look a certain way that we are often led down this path where we just don't feel good about ourselves. And I just want to like shed the light into the world. And that's why I love this platform, because so much of that stuff is not real, and so much of it is just like a created reality. And you can have super fine hair like me and make it look super, super, super thick. And you can like have acne and make yourself look like you have perfect skin. And you can have dark circles and make it look like you have slept 10 hours. Like, all of these illusions are kind of powerful because the way that you look really does change the way that you're treated. And I hate that that's reality, but it is reality nonetheless. Having these tools for me, it makes me feel like I'm like a superhero, you know? And I just love to share them. Like, I'm not the type of stylist that keeps things to myself. So how do I manage work-life balance? Okay, I remember why I got on that tangent. The only reason I think I manage it is because my job and my work doesn't feel like work. My job and my work really does feel like my hobby, and it brings me such an immense amount of joy that every second I'm not with my kids, I want to do this. I think sometimes to the neglect of my husband, and I probably should work on that more, because sometimes I put the kids to bed and I'm like right back on like scripting or editing or like trying to figure out B-roll or whatever, right? And I think that I do need to like put more time into nurturing him and making him feel appreciated. But the balance, I don't think I figured it out. I know I haven't. And if you haven't either, I think it's okay. I think when you have young children and you are at the age that I'm at right now, we're building our careers. And I think we're at the peak of our career building stage where we really need to like put the pedal to the metal now and grow what we are doing and become a name, because I'm 36, so I'm at a point in my life where I have a lot of experience professionally, a lot of professional experience, but I can't cruise yet because I'm not at the age where I'm completely established. So I think right now is the time that you have to do the work, but consequentially right now when we are this age is also the time when you have little kids who need a lot of attention as well. So how do you do it all, you know? And I think that's why so many women suffer with anxiety and depression, myself included. Like I have a lot of anxiety and sometimes I get some depression too, where I just feel like I'm failing at absolutely everything and I can't be good enough and I'm not good enough and I never will be. And if you feel like you are failing at things right now, you're not. There are too many things to do to be perfect at everything. And all that really matters to me is that my kids feel super loved, that I can financially support and take care of them, that I'm an authentic and genuine person and a good friend. And that's it. Do I have everything figured out? I definitely don't. Do I balance it? Not really. But I think that the biggest thing in our stage of life, and if you're in my stage of life where you know you're in your mid-late 30s or early 40s, is that there is a lot of things on your plate, and generationally there's more on our plate than I think ever has been on anyone else's plate, because we are just expected to be as successful as men, but also be as much of caretakers and committed to our families as we were in the past when we didn't have as much professional obligation or expectation. And that's just like reality. If you disagree, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your take on it too. But I think that all you can do is like let things go, you know? Like when my kids get home from school at 3, I used to be like, oh, you need to like be in an extracurricular and you need to do workbooks. And now it's like I still have work to do until at least 5, sometimes 5:30. And like you can play video games from 3 to 5 because I have work to do, and I've had to let go of like the guilt of feeling like I need to be freaking perfect all the time. They have to have the perfect mother who doesn't allow too much screen time, and they have to like, you know, have the perfect grades, and they need to do all the extracurriculars. Like I've just let that go, to be honest, because I also need to take care of myself. My kids are 100% my priority, but there are too many other obligations in the life of women today. And it's okay to not cut their sandwiches up into heart shapes and leave a note in their lunch every single day at school. And if you're struggling with that, like with that pressure of social media and that pressure of being perfect, like just try to let it go, because no one is perfect. And if they are acting like they are online, they're just lying or hiding. You know, and I think sometimes I come off like that because I'm not going to post like when I'm losing my fucking mind on social media. I'm like, why? The last thing I'm thinking about when I'm having a mental breakdown is posting something on Instagram. So it just comes off that like everyone's life is perfect, and it's not. It just isn't. Okay, what is your biggest insecurity and how do you manage it? Oh man, this is a loaded question. There are so many insecurities that I have. When I grew up, I came from Brazil. And I came when I was a little kid. I looked different than like a lot of the kids, right? I grew up in this really white community. The beautiful girls were the ones with the blue eyes and the fair skin and the blonde hair. And I looked different, especially at that time in the early 90s. You know, there's a lot more diversity and acceptance now, but back in the early 90s, it was different, you know? And we had to learn English and we had to do all the things. And I was not beautiful ever. I was not beautiful. I was not a beautiful child. I was not a beautiful teenager. I was not beautiful in high school. I identified myself by my intelligence and not by my looks. I never got attention for being pretty, like ever. And I really think that's why I'm so good at hair and makeup, because I overcame those obstacles by learning, and I was very good at learning. Nothing for me ever came with luck. Like this channel, even the growth of this channel was not luck. It was 1000% strategy and determination and hard work. And that's kind of the whole theme of my entire life. The whole point of this tangent was to say, like, I was not beautiful growing up. I had a lot of things. Like I had really terrible acne. I ended up going on Accutane. That's a whole other story. And I went on Accutane way later in my life, like in my 20s. I got a rhinoplasty done. I got my nose done because I had quite a large bump here and my nose tipped down. So it didn't like slope like this, it tipped down. And that was, in my opinion, like really unflattering for my face. You know, I've had like work done done. And I'm not ashamed of it. I don't think that you should be chasing perfection because you will never be happy. Like my plastic surgeon even said it to me. He's like, you got to be careful because when you fix your nose, you notice something else. If there's something about your face that you don't like in my case, it was my nose, as soon as that's quote unquote fixed and it's not the target of your insecurity anymore, the target of that insecurity will move to something else. That's just a part of growing up in this day and age with social media and with the pressures and with everything and the way that life is now. What are my insecurities now? God, there's so many. Like, where do I begin? In terms of my looks, like my dark circles, I have massive dark circles, and that comes in large part because, again, of society and being so tired and having so many responsibilities and trying to be like perfect at everything. So those dark circles come as a result of that, and that's okay. Like I've really come to accept things a lot more now that I'm older, and I've come to love myself a lot more than I think I ever have, because I'm okay with those things because they just like made my life amazing, you know? If I don't sleep a lot because I have little kids and I have dark circles because of it, or like fine lines and wrinkles around my eyes because I'm not taking as good of care of myself, at least I have this like gigantic gift, which are my kids. In terms of my insecurities personally with my personality, I have so many insecurities. Like, I think maybe that's why I don't do these videos. Like, I really think like I'm not an overly interesting person. I'm not a supermodel, you know, I'm not Hailey Bieber. And so sometimes I think like if I'm open in videos or just myself, that you guys like maybe just won't like me as much, or you'll unfollow, or like the videos will get no views, and then editing them will be a huge waste of time. Like I can pretty much guarantee you this video is not gonna get a lot of views because these talking head videos on my channel, they don't get views. Like people are worried about themselves, they're not worried about me. And I don't think I'm interesting or like beautiful enough to make people want to like sit through these really long talking sessions. And like, that's okay. Like I don't need to be validated by that. But as a YouTuber, if you have any type of insecurity whatsoever, it gets illuminated. So if you are the type of person that wants to get into this field, you need a lot of thick skin because you will get a lot of love, but you will also get a lot of hate. And channels are up and down in terms of views, and you have to ride this roller coaster, and you can't allow your views to dictate your worth. And it's very easy to get into that cycle where you're only happy if you're like on top, but no one's on top all the time. Like people go on top and then they go down the roller coaster and then they come back up and then they go, it's just a part of how it is. But I think when you start to validate your worth based on your subscribers and your views, when you're down, you're really down. Okay, so I got a few questions about whether or not I inject my lips and also about what other cosmetic procedures I have done. So I used to get lip injections done and I loved them. I did. I didn't have super thick, like full lips before. And I got lip injections done maybe 3, maybe 4 times. And then the last time I did it was probably, it's gotta be at least 2 to 3 years ago. And then I've never gotten it done again. There's no real reason why I haven't gotten it done again, other than the fact that I think I started to get like a little bit addicted to that type of thing, you know? Like I got my cheeks injected. Again, I haven't done that in like forever, like years. I got tons of Botox and I got filler on my cheeks. I got filler on my nose. I got like tons of Botox around my eyes, under my eyes, my forehead, and like quite a few units. I got my lips done. And then I just started to notice in some of my videos that I started to look like a little bit off. Not off, but like fake. And I didn't like that because I don't like the idea that we have to fit into this aesthetic norm to be beautiful. That's one thing. And I don't like the idea that you have to have like a completely frozen face to be deemed beautiful in society today. Like I really think that's quite damaging to the self-esteem of women and to the idea of like our purpose and why we matter and why we're important. I think all of that is damaging. So I haven't had my lips done in a long time. Will I do them again? Maybe. I get a lot of questions where people are like, oh, but your lips are fake. And like, they're not. I have not had lip filler in like 3 years. So they're not. Like, this is just how my lips are. I think that my lips got bigger from the filler and it never fully went away. I think that's probably true. I don't think my body metabolized it as much as some people's bodies metabolize it. I think it lasts really long for me, or even just permanently stretched my lips. But do I want them to be bigger and fluffier and more pillowy? Like, not right now. No. Since then, I've also significantly reduced how much Botox I'm getting. I was getting so much Botox that I couldn't like make any expression. And now I can make expression. Like my body is much softer. I probably get half the amount of units I used to get, and I don't get anything around my eyes anymore. I used to get a lot around my eyes. And I started to feel a little bit like when I smiled, like my mouth was happy, but my eyes weren't happy because I couldn't like squint them. And I have a bit of a squinty smile. So I stopped doing that as well. And it's really just so minor now. Now I do some here, so it doesn't crease my makeup. And I do it here, so I don't like constantly do this with my face. I get a tiny bit here because I have like a lot of fine lines around my eyes, but I don't get anything here. And like the amount of units is significantly reduced. If you guys want me to take you with me to my next appointment, I typically go once every like 4 months. I can totally do that for you. I can take you and you can see exactly what I have done. I'm 36 and that's all I do. I haven't had filler in like a very long time. Something else that I did get done is last September, I did get my breasts implanted, like a breast implant. I got 350 cc. I breastfed both my kids, especially my second. I breastfed for a long time. And my breasts got so big when I was pregnant and then so tiny when I was not pregnant because I'm naturally like a pretty thin person. They really got huge when I was breastfeeding, like huge. Like I'm talking like double D's were tight on me. And I started as like a 32B. So it was like from very tiny to like huge. So there was so much loose skin. It felt like they were just like these empty sacks, you know, like there was no density at all. They weren't saggy, like I didn't have that issue, but they were like very empty. Like there was no, if I put them together, like I didn't have like any type of cleavage. Not that I really cared about that, but I did feel pretty self-conscious because I couldn't even get like bras to fit. Like if I leaned over, there was like gaps in the top because there was absolutely no density. So even if it fit the skin, there was nothing to fill out the cup. So I got a very tiny implant, 350 cc. It was the smallest implant that I was allowed to get for the amount of skin that I had. I asked my doctor about that. He suggested 400, but I was like, no, I do not want them to be fake. And my biggest thing when I got that done is I said like, if I'm at a pool party and I have one person that looks at me and says like her boobs are fake, I'm gonna be mad. And he's like, okay, that's our standard. I'm like, yes, I don't want fake boobs at a pool party. Not that there's anything wrong with that. There absolutely isn't. And if you want like big fake boobs, like girl, you do you. So yeah, I've done some Botox, I've done some filler, I've gotten my nose done, and I got breast implants. So I guess it's quite a few things. I guess it's quite a few things when you think about it like that. But I'm not ashamed of it. There are things that made me feel better. Am I gonna keep chasing the surgery dream? Like, no, I don't want anything else done. I wouldn't get like a tummy tuck or anything like that. I'm pretty happy with like where I'm at now. Those are just the two things that made me feel the most insecure, my nose and my breasts. And apparently, getting your nose and your breast done is like extremely popular. My plastic surgeon told me that almost every single person he does a rhinoplasty for ends up coming back and getting breast augmentation later. Which is hilarious, right? It's my biggest beauty disaster. Oh my God, there's been so many. I'll tell you one mistake that I made very recently. It's a fringe. I look so bad when I have bangs. I really do. I look terrible with a fringe. It is not a good look for me at all. And I always feel like when fringes are trendy, that this time will be different. It's gonna look good this time, and it never does. It never does. Like I don't have the type of face. I think because I have deep folds here that are very genetic. When you cover this, it brings a lot of emphasis here. Do you see that? And I have such a narrow face that it just like closes me in. I've tried so many different fringes. The only one that works are curtain bangs when they're opened up. And some of my like most viral videos are the ones where I have a fringe. And I get so many comments being like, that hair is not flattering on you. Like, what do you know about hair? And I'm like, you're right. It was like a big beauty blender. Like, I'm not perfect. I'm not. I still make beauty mistakes. I still think sometimes things will work and they don't. Oh, I have another one. I made a huge beauty mistake in this video. I'll pop it up. I'll like pop it up here somewhere, where there was a trend going on where you took your Cupid's bow and you rounded it and it made your lips look really full and beautiful. And in real life, it looked great. I was like, wow, oh my gosh, looks like I have beautiful full lips without the filler. Consequentially, it just did not look good on camera. And I got a lot of comments about that too. And truthfully, when I was editing that video, I was like, what is with my lips? But that video was such a good video. I mean, it's gotten so many views. But I did get a lot of comments about how it looked terrible. And they were right, it did. It did look terrible. They were right. So there's that. It's hard to be like in the public eye because like I'm not perfect, right? So I make mistakes, beauty mistakes, and sometimes things don't read on camera the same way they read in real life. And I know that because I'm a, editorial makeup artist. And when you guys don't like something, it is like war in the comments. And I'm like, wow, so much hate, so much anger towards this, when it really isn't that big of a deal, you know? But I don't know, I guess when you notice it on camera, you're inclined to comment, and I guess it's just a part of the job. But man, that can get to you after a while, because you really do feel like you have to be perfect. That's why I never make these videos where I'm just myself being normal, because I'm like, what kind of comments am I gonna get, like ripping me to shreds for just being myself? And it's very different when you get a comment, like a mean comment, when you are a character or you're saying a script, or it's like calculated, because then you're like, well, it's not me. As opposed to when you get a mean comment when you're just being yourself. Because when you're just being yourself, like it kind of hurts your feelings, you know? Anyways, I'm gonna hop off, do my lashes, and I'll be right back. Thank you guys so much for watching, for hanging out with me. I can't tell you how much it means to me that you give up your time and that you spend it here with me on the channel. It literally allows me to do something that I love so much. It gives me so much more time with my kids, and just truly lets me live my best life. And it's because of you. And that really does mean a lot to me. I'll catch you guys next week. Bye.